Why raising taxes is not the solution to feeding hungry Americans. The Supermarket Guru Consumer Panel weighs in on feeding their pets. And in health and wellness, we find out if slower eating curbs snacking. For today, Wednesday, March 30th, 2011, this is Food News Today. Good morning. Today's broadcast is pre-recorded, so please feel free to email me directly at phil@supermarketguru.com with any questions or comments you might have, as there will not be a live chat today. Food News Today is sponsored by ConAgra Foods, who shares with me the desire to provide the most current, interesting, and unbiased food news. Inside Washington, today we take a look at funding foods for the needy. We continue our interview with Michelle Nishan. This week, we take a look at the obstacles in low-income areas and some of the changes that he feels can help solve the problem. Michelle is a James Beard Award-winning chef, author, and CEO of the nonprofit Wholesome Wave. Their mission is to empower those who reside in historically excluded communities to make better food choices. So, Michelle, do you think we need to funnel more money into the system? And how do you think the money is currently being used?
What we see in the system already is money that's been taken out of our wallets that isn't really being maybe used to the highest and best use. So when you look, for instance, at SNAP outreach and advertising dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars a year to encourage people who might be eligible for SNAP to sign up. So there are bus campaigns, there are calendars and recipe cards that really go out and don't have much of an effect. So there's already hundreds of millions of dollars that you could take some of that and just shift it towards incentives to double the existing SNAP release. Not an additional penny has come out of mine or your pocket, but now we've increased significantly the consumption of fresh fruits and vegetables for many people who are at risk. And by the way, contributing incredibly to the rising healthcare costs in the country. So if we shift those marketing dollars in a way that we're actually providing the 2-for-1 sale and we get families eating more fruits and vegetables, medical costs reduce, and then you have a program that begins to pay for itself. So our argument is that there's so much money in the system right now that might not be spent to its best use, that can be repurposed in a way that could have a really significant impact.
What are some of the more interesting findings that you've seen from your work with Wholesome Wave and spending time in these underserved communities?
I think one of the things, Phil, is helping people understand something that our data has begun to prove, and that's that people's assumption of the behaviors, the habits, the dislikes, the likes, the desires of people that are on SNAP or food stamps, these are the folks who need to be educated, the regular American, because they've got it wrong. We don't just raise the money to double the value of the SNAP benefits because it helps poor people have access to better food, and then it doubles when it gets to the hands of farmers, which at that surface level value, a lot of people say, what a great idea for a nonprofit. But what we actually do when we work through our nonprofit partners, and they collect data showing what happens to SNAP and food stamp redemption rates at farmers markets that accepted SNAP before the incentives, what happens when the incentives come to bear, and what happens when the incentives go away. And one of the things that our data has shown consistently everywhere that we go, if you have a redemption rate increase of 1,000%, these are real numbers, anywhere from 300 to 2,000%, depending on a market, the incentives go away and the redemption rates only dip about 30%. So when the incentives go away, people continue to go to the farmer's market and spend their food stamps on healthier, locally grown foods. It's amazing that SNAP shoppers are far more sophisticated than the average American because they know, because of the internet and a variety of other reasons, and often the pressures of poverty, they should be feeding their families healthier food. They don't have the resources to do it. They're rubbing two pennies together and figuring out to the best of their ability how to get better food on the table, but they always fall way short simply because the affordability is not there. So these are not people who are stupid. These are not people who do not care. These are not people who are complacent or lazy. These are people who are poor, very poor, and they can't afford to make the same food choices as the rest of America. So one of the best things I think we can do is help the rest of educated America understand that these people are passionate They're wonderful, just like any other mother or father or caregiver. They want to feed their families better. They just don't have the resources to do it. That would be a huge step in the right direction, just eliminating the negative stigma that is very undeservedly placed.
And Michelle, where can we direct our audiences and consumers to get more information?
www.wholesomewave.org. Go on our website. There's information about all of our programs. We have a map and we have a locator where our program partners are working, so they can find out if there are programs that we're running on the ground in their neighborhood, and then there are contact numbers and other contact information that people can dial into, and we're always really excited to receive calls.
Thanks, Michelle. Great work. What to feed Fido and Tippy is top of mind for many pet owners these days. About 62% of U.S. households now own a pet, the equivalent of 71.4 million homes. Increased awareness of what's in our people food and a more stringent label reading population has impacted the pet world. Food safety issues trumped all other concerns. In overall pet food trends, consumers turn to premium, organic, natural, and locally sourced brands. After all, according to the American Pet Products Association, pet owners spent over $18 billion on pet food alone last year. That's up almost $1 billion over the previous year. So what exactly are pet owners feeding their pets? Well, from the results of our exclusive Supermarket Guru consumer panel, we find that 95% of those who were surveyed have a dog or cat, and 76% feed it store-bought, natural, organic, or gourmet pet food. 24% serve their pet a mixture of people and pet food, while merely 21% reach for the generic brands. Where do they purchase their pets' foods? Well, 43% at the specialty pet store, while less than a third buy pet food while shopping for groceries at their local supermarket. Then there's the pet obesity question. Data from a study released in mid-March indicated that 1/5 of dogs and cats are 30% above their normal weight. That puts them in the obese category. The study was done by the Association for Pet Obesity Prevention and the nation's largest general veterinary practice, Banfield Pet Hospital, which syncs up exactly with what our panel said. 19% say their pet is overweight. And what about feeding those pets from the dining room table? Well, over half say they sometimes do that. 35% say never. But the question is why? And a third feed their pets people food. And they do it for change or to stimulate the pet. 23% say their pet likes it more, and 18% say that it's nutritionally superior. Another 18% just doesn't want their foods to go to waste. But according to the ASPCA, you should never feed your pets chocolate, coffee, caffeine, avocado, macadamia nuts, grapes, raisins, yeast dough, undercooked or raw meats, eggs, or bones, the sweetener xylitol, onions, garlic, chives, milk, salt, and never any alcohol, even at those summertime barbecues. For the details, just log on to the ASPCA information link below. In our health and wellness report today, we ask, do leisurely meals curb snacking? Small plates here, snack-sized on-the-go foods there. Snacks are the new breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and everything in between. They've been virtually replaced, and the strict structured 3 meals a day for much of the population is gone. Now, they graze from meal to meal. But do they actually help us eat less overall? Or are they adding hundreds of calories to our already maxed out caloric daily intake? Researchers from Maastricht University in the Netherlands set out to find the answer. Sophie Lemmens, a postdoctoral fellow at the university and the lead author of the paper, reported that overall findings demonstrate that those who ate the longer, more drawn-out meals, get ready for this, still didn't change snacking behavior, although they reported that they feel less hungry and more satisfied. In the study, 2.5 hours after the beginning of the longer and staggered meal, the diners were offered an array of traditional Dutch tea treats like apple cake, chocolate-covered marshmallows, peanuts, chips, and waffles, and they ate almost as much as they did after a meal that they had consumed in just 30 minutes. Blood samples were drawn before, during, and after the meal to compare the levels of appetite hormones. When participants ate the drawn-out meal, their satiety hormones increased more gradually versus in the 30-minute meal, when they spiked more rapidly. Now, just before the snacking period, blood samples of diners who had eaten the drawn-out meal had a lower level of ghrelin, a hormone that increases with hunger and is believed to stimulate appetite. Yet, the differences in hormone levels did not significantly nor statistically affect just how much the participants ate of the sweet and salty tea snacks. Sophie Lemons reports that although the hormone levels signaling hunger were low, the availability of tempting foods overrides the body's internal messages about when to stop eating. In essence, our food environment is overriding all the biological cues. There are no set meal times nor meal places any longer. We eat all the time and everywhere that we go. And it seems like the one key in reversing the obesity crisis might just be to define meal times and eat more mindfully. For Food News Today, I'm Phil Lempert. Thanks for joining us. If you have a colleague in retailing, the media, or a blogger who would also like to receive our advanced email with the stories for the week, please ask them to visit foodnewstoday.com to sign up. Next week's stories will be in your Tuesday email.